I mean, a lot of families worry about our children getting taken advantage
Yes.
of. That's a huge issue, and it happens. It's a concern throughout life.
Welcome to the Optism channel, where we journey with Carmen to raise autism awareness and move steps closer to inclusivity. Join us as we meet community members, share stories, and explore initiatives that make a real difference.
Now, on the topic of navigating friendships and maintaining meaningful relations, I feel like teenagers who are neurodivergent often struggle with this element. What is your suggestion on how parents can support them on this journey?
I love social stories. Social stories really help our young people understand how to navigate the world around them. Most of them are very visual learners, and so that visualization of how to interact, what happens when, understanding facial expressions, that really helps them to kind of navigate the world around them. One of my favorite shows is Atypical.
Okay.
And so Atypical is about a teenage boy who's learning to really navigate the world around him, learn to have the independence that he's been trained to get. So that's one of my favorite shows that I encourage families to look at, because it does show kind of a lot of these aspects of our students that we need to address.
I've always assumed that social stories are for younger children, though.
No, not at all. Social stories, we use them in teens, young adults.
I guess not presenting them in a
Not a children's book, right? We're not doing a children's book anymore, right? It's more age appropriate, but it kind of shows the social space and helps them to kind of understand in pictures, because talking about it sometimes doesn't mean anything.
Especially with facial cues and,
Absolutely.
nonverbal gestures. I do find, interesting. I never thought about that. So on the topic of navigating puberty and sexuality, I mean, this is definitely a new chapter for many, many parents. How can we start the conversations about sexuality and relationships in a way that is clear and supportive?
Again, I love a good social story.
Okay.
I do.
And there are
And
some
so,
resources
absolutely.
available?
And I really think that it's good. There's a couple of things. One is, I think that it's good to have a therapist to navigate these things with you and for you, right? Because that child sometimes, especially as a preteen or teen, they're not telling mom and dad everything. Right? That's just not how that goes. So it's sometimes important to have somebody else in their life that they feel comfortable with and okay to talk to. And that is typically where that social story can be created, is with that therapist. And then you create some of those basic things. There's a few books out there that are very easy reads, very black and white, shows changes that are necessary for young girls to understand about their bodies, for young boys to understand about their bodies, and for them to understand each other's bodies.
Right.
That's very necessary. And then when we're talking about navigating relationships, that's something that really has to be clear, because I mean, a lot of families worry about our children getting taken advantage of. That's a huge issue, and it happens. It's a concern throughout life, right? And really helping them to understand themselves, particularly as a preteen, if they can start really understanding who they are, understanding boundaries, knowing what consent is, right? Understanding the difference between a romantic relationship and a friendship. What are the cues? What does that look like when someone wants to have a romantic relationship with you, right? That's difficult for most people in general, right? But particularly for a young person with autism, they're not quite sure what's going on here, but they're interested in a romantic relationship. They need to understand what that means and how to navigate it. Allow opportunities to ask questions. Allow opportunities to talk about it, just in general. Bring it up as a topic. They might not know how to bring it up, but they know it's something they want. I have I guess she isn't a little girl, a young girl that I work with. She is 15. And when she first wanted to tell me about her desire to date, I guess she was maybe 13.
Right.
But that's what all the girls were talking about. It wasn't that she wanted to date, it's just that's what the girls in her class were talking about, is dating and cute boys, and that was the conversation. So she asked me what it meant to go on a date. And so I was a little startled. I said, okay, well, tell me where you heard this from. That's usually my first question is where did you hear this? Because it wasn't something she came up on her own, right? And so she let me know that this is what the girls are talking about, is dating, and a little boy is hot. What do you do with that? And so she asked me what hot was, like, is he warm? And it's okay. So, we had to kind of filter through what some of the lingo is and what it means. And so really sitting down and having those conversations, honest conversations, and opening up the opportunity to have it will prevent so many problems later in life of them not understanding. Because what we do want them to do is understand that they may not understand.
It's not just about them having their boundaries infringed. I mean, as a mom of a boy, I worry that he would infringe other people's boundaries by acting too friendly and getting himself into trouble.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that, again, is this similar conversation in a different way. Understanding what it means when you're too close. Understanding what boundaries are for anybody that's around you. I mean, just really having those conversations so it's not misinterpreted by the other person also, because you have, a 15-year-old who looks 30, Yes. So, that's just important to be able to help that child to navigate and understand that other people may not perceive you the way that you perceive yourself.
Now, would you mind sharing with us some of the experience that you've had working with neurodivergent teenagers?
Sure. I've been in this space for almost 30 years. I started as an ABA therapist, learning ABA and understanding ABA in the US as a 17-year-old who had just started college.
Wow.
And so I've been in this space ever since. This has been a passion of mine. I started out actually as an engineering major.
Wow.
And we were not allowed to be engineering nerds, so we had to volunteer to do something in some space. And so I was a freshman, just starting out, and decided I'm going to wait till the last minute. And the last thing on the list was to do a play date with a child with autism. And I really had zero interest. I didn't like kids. I had no interest whatsoever as a 17-year-old, right, for obvious reasons. But when I got there, I was amazed by what I was watching, because it was the period between his ABA sessions, his speech sessions, his OT sessions. So I got to watch kind of all aspects of his growth. And, from day to day, I was shocked at what I was seeing. And so at that point, that's when I changed my major and totally focused on this as my career.
So, Dr. Perymon, could you share with us some of the most memorable experience you have working in this field for so long?
The most memorable experience is probably with a young man. I always like to call him a little guy, but he's 29, 30.
Wow.
So he's not a little guy. He's kind of what committed me to this space.
Was he
one of my very first kids, yes. One of my very first kids, and he had a mama bear, okay, who was very intent on him getting the services that he needed, and very creative. So he had autism spectrum disorder, speech delay, global delay. And so he was 18 months when I first started working with him. His family was told that he needed to be institutionalized because he was severely delayed and he would never be a functional member of society. There were many days when I came back to my dorm at the time with bruises and bite marks and all types of things, because he was a difficult, complicated little guy at the time. But he worked 60 hours a week doing ABA. He had speech therapy, he had occupational therapy multiple times a week. And now he has a doctorate in biochemical engineering. He's married and has his second baby's on the way. He is the one who makes it clear that this works. ABA works, speech therapy works, occupational therapy works, and that changes lives.
And early intervention works.
Early intervention is the most important part of all of this. Had the family waited until he was 6 or 7, this would not be the same story by any means.
Amazing.
Not at all.